So another week down without the Bulls' core defenders in Lonzo Ball, Alex Caruso, and Derrick Jones Jr. 1 week sooner until their return, and we're certainly going to need them as the Eastern Conference playoff race is getting incredibly tight. After the Bulls lost last night, they are now second in the East, a half a game back behind the Miami Heat, but only 1 game ahead of the 5th seed, which is currently the Philadelphia 76ers. And this week, we're going to see even more tests for the Bulls as they face off against some teams we have yet to see this season, starting tonight in a second game of a back-to-back against the Phoenix Suns, currently the best team in the league right now with a record of 42-10, which will be on NBA TV. And then the Bulls will be taking on LaMelo Ball and the Hornets in Charlotte on Wednesday. That game will actually be on ESPN. Then the Bulls will come back home for another back-to-back on Friday and Saturday against the Timberwolves and the Oklahoma City Thunder. Talk about a brutal schedule for the Bulls, a stretch of 4 games in 5 nights after they play the Suns tonight. And over the course of the last 10 days, they'll have played 7 games. I would not be shocked to see some of the big three get some rest for some of these games, but in any event, let's talk about them for this upcoming week, what to expect, keys to each game, and of course my predictions for the week. So what's going on, everyone? You are listening to Bulls Central here. Hope you're all doing well. Guys, real quick, the channel is nearing 25,000 subscribers, so if you like the content, it would mean the world to me for you to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, as about 50% of you are not subscribe to the channel. So thanks for that in advance, guys. I really do appreciate it. But anyway, let's get back into the content. So let's start off with tonight's game against the Suns, who hold the best record in the league, which will be the first time the Bulls have seen them this season. And this team has just had an incredible run, going from being a bottom feeder in the NBA season after season for so many years, to then going all the way to the finals last season, and now they are still on their way to title contention yet again. And this is going to be a challenging game for the Bulls, which, yes, I know is obvious, but when you have a team that is as deep as the Suns are, with an elite scorer and all-star in Devin Booker, a savvy veteran and future Hall of Famer with incredible playmaking, defense, and scoring in Chris Paul, and a young up-and-coming big man in DeAndre Ayton, with some depth guys like Mikal Bridges, Cameron Johnson, Jay Crowder, JaVale McGee, can't believe I'm saying this, but also Cameron Payne, even though I know he's out for this game. But they just have so many pieces that fit so perfectly together, combined with a great coach that has enabled them to perform so well. So what are the Bulls going to do about this game? Well, first of all, let's hope that both Zach Lavine and Coby White are going to be available to play in this one. At the time of this recording anyway, we haven't received any sort of update on their status and whether they'll in fact be able to play. Hopefully we can at least get Zach Lavine back. But really, the guy you have to give most of your attention to in this game is Devin Booker, an all-star, an elite scorer in this league. And I think the thing I'm going to be most curious about is whether Billy Donovan is going to put Ayo on Devin Booker or keep him on CP3, because really, both of these guys are going to be a problem. Whether it's the facilitation that CP3 offers, as well as his mid-range and outside scoring, or the 25 point per game that Devin Booker is likely to provide. My guess is Zach Lavine, if he's back, he'll probably just stick to that position-on-position guarding, with Lavine guarding Booker and Ayo guarding Chris Paul. And really between Booker and Lavine, it'll just be a shootout, since neither of them are that great on defense. And Ayo will really be used to limit Chris Paul's playmaking ability, pestering him on the perimeter and deflecting passes. And then, of course, down low, you're going to need another big game from Vucevic, similar to what we saw and how aggressive he was in last night's game against Joel Embiid, staying active on defense and fighting through Ayton's post-ups. Like, Ayton is not the same level of player that Embiid is at all, so he's not going to have to worry about Ayton commanding the ball as much as Embiid does. But he's still a solid big that you have to play hard against, or he'll get the best of you. And I want to see more of that footwork from Vooch that we saw last night in shaking off Embiid to get some easy buckets in the paint. If Lavine doesn't play, it's going to be a long night. Although I say that and thought that would be the case in last night's game against the Sixers, and the Bulls actually held their own and kept it competitive despite being without more than half of their roster. Then the Bulls will travel to Charlotte to play the Hornets. This game will be on ESPN, as I mentioned earlier, which I'm sure they scheduled to see the Ball brothers face off against one another, which of course Lonzo Ball will not be available for this one. But the last time these two teams played, it was an exciting matchup, especially between Lonzo and LaMelo. And you'd have to think that this is going to be another tough matchup for the Bulls, another tough assignment for Dosunmu in guarding LaMelo Ball, who in my opinion was snubbed out of being an all-star this year. Unlike the Bulls, the Hornets are fully healthy. However, they are currently on a 4-game losing streak and have lost 6 of their last 8. The thing about the Hornets is They are not a good defensive team, currently 24th in the league by defensive rating. They have a lot of talent on offense with LaMelo, Miles Bridges, Terry Rozier, even Kelly Oubre Jr. Oh, actually Gordon Hayward as well, forgot to mention him. But really outside of those guys, the Hornets don't have a ton of depth. And the thing is, in this one, this is another one of these games where Vucevic needs to take advantage of the fact that the Hornets don't have a strong center. Kind of like the game against the Pacers when they were without both Miles Turner and Domantas Sabonis. And he put up a season-high 36 points. Like the Hornets have Mason Plumlee in their starting lineup and then rotate between other guys who are really power forwards but have to play the 5 because Plumlee isn't the type of player you play 30 to 35 minutes a game in. So in this one, you've got to feed Vucevic the ball in the paint. Like we've seen just how much better Vuce has been playing when the Bulls go inside to him and he's not just putting up a bunch of threes. I do get the sense that this is going to be a very high scoring game. It'll just depend on who ends up hitting their shots more. Then the Bulls will see another team they have yet to see this season in the Minnesota Timberwolves, who have kind of been sneakily good, winning their last 4 games. They're sitting 7th in the West right now, looking to make the playoffs for the first time since Jimmy Butler was there. And a lot of credit has to be given to Karl-Anthony Towns and the monstrous season he's been having. He was just named an All-Star yet again. And then the second year man also and former #1 pick in Anthony Edwards, who was building on his rookie season and currently averaging 22.3 points per game. And don't forget D'Angelo Russell, who is finally healthy and starting to look like his Brooklyn Nets days. Now, strictly talking about matchups, the Bulls don't stack up well against the Wolves. One, because they have great size and length, and that's just not even in their starting lineup, but their depth off the bench as well with guys like Naz Reid, Jared Vanderbilt, who I guess is really in the starting lineup anyway, Taurean Prince, Jaden McDaniels. And then as far as the top guards and wings go, Edwards and Russell will present problems, especially when it comes to going up against the defense of DeRozan and Lavine. And then for Vucevic, he won't have as much of an issue on offense going against Cat, as Anthony Towns isn't really that great of a defender, although he has improved in the last couple of seasons. But as far as defending Cat, especially jumping out to the perimeter, Karl-Anthony Towns is having one of the best seasons shooting from deep at a little over 40% clip. And even though Vucevic has improved his defense this season, he still struggles against bigs who can spread the floor. And then finally, the Bulls will close out their week against the Thunder in a second game of a back-to-back on Saturday. The Bulls played a pretty subpar game against the Thunder a few weeks ago in OKC, in which the Bulls blew a near 25-point lead in the third quarter, with the Thunder cutting the lead down to 1 point with less than a minute to go. The Bulls ultimately were able to close out that game, but you'd have to hope to see a much better game in this one, which the Bulls will take their competition a little more seriously rather than getting a little too complacent and playing down to their competition against some of the worst teams in the league. But you'd hope to see a much better game in this one in which the Bulls take their competition a little more seriously rather than getting a little too comfortable and complacent going against one of the worst teams in the league. And at the time of this recording anyway, the Thunder's best player in Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is out of the lineup with no update on a timetable for his return. Even Lou Dort, who is their second leading scorer, is listed as day-to-day, which kind of leaves them in the hands of the rookie Josh Giddey, who has been having a great rookie season. But without SGA, this Thunder team was already a poor team as it is, but removing him off that roster, you're talking about an incredibly young and inexperienced team. And even with the Bulls being shorthanded, this is a game you have to win. No excuses. A loss would be unacceptable. And I'm even saying that if the Bulls are still without Lavine and Coby, which hopefully by Saturday, both of those guys will be back. Now, as far as my predictions for this week, which I will say the last 2 weeks I have been 100% correct in my predictions, which you guys know I'm pretty bad when it comes to predicting how the Bulls are going to do in a given week. So to the fact that I was able to do it 2 weeks in a row, to me, is a win. So let's see if I can make it a third week in a row calling all of the games. So in this week, I'm thinking the Bulls will likely go 2-2, losing to the Suns and Timberwolves. I think the Bulls are really going to be challenged going up against the best team in the league on a second game of a back-to-back, while Lavine and White's status still remains uncertain. And I think for the Timberwolves, they've just really been rolling right now. They're young, talented, athletic, and with how shorthanded the Bulls are, I just don't know if they'll be able to keep up with them. Not saying the Wolves are a better team than the Bulls, because they're not, but I think given the circumstances and it also being the 6th game in 9 nights by that point, that's unlikely that they're going to win. But the Thunder, I think the Bulls can absolutely win, and they should win. And the Hornets, the Bulls should be able to make good work of them as well. I think it's just going to be a matter of winning that game in a shootout. So 2-2 obviously would be a different story if the Bulls were fully healthy, but that's what I'm going to be going with. But I want to know what your guys' predictions are for this week. Let me know in the comments how you think the Bulls will do. Don't forget, We've got the first game coming up tonight against the Suns. I'll have a live game chat for that, both on the channel and on the Discord. Until then, though, guys, as always, be sure to subscribe if you're a Bulls fan, as I do post daily Bulls content. Thanks again for tuning in, guys, and I will catch you in the next one.